Yo, welcome to Simply Bitcoin. $120 million worth of Bitcoin shorts were just liquidated in the last 24 hours alone, taking the Bitcoin price to an all-time high of $85,000. CNBC and Bloomberg have headlines talking about how the Trump victory potentially took the price to all-time highs. They're calling it the so-called Trump pump. Bernstein analysts are begging their clients to jump on the Bitcoin train to get exposure to Bitcoin. Is the supposed super cycle starting? Is this a new phase in Bitcoin's history? Well, you're going to want to stay tuned for the whole show because we have so much Bitcoin news for you guys. And guys, we're in freedom country, and I'm sitting next to my legendary co-host, the Optimus Fields, in front of the volcano in San Salvador. Anyways, Opti, how you doing, man? This was pretty crazy this morning, getting everything set up, but it worked out in the end, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, hey guys, forgive us for being a couple minutes late, but you're used to it by now. But we got a good view here. You know, we're in El Salvador, in San Salvador. We got a volcano. I'm starting to sweat, man. I don't know. It's going to be a good show. So let's bring in our guest, Nico.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Let's we have our friends from BitRacer. Is that correct, Opti? Yes, sir. All right, awesome. Well, let's jump straight into the news, ladies and gentlemen. We have lots of stuff to talk about. So first, let's check out this article by Bloomberg. Bitcoin soars above 84,000. That's already broken. That's fake news. It's 85K. But they're essentially connecting this with the Trump win, and they're saying that the Trump win is boosting the crypto prospects. I mean, of course, this makes sense. We remember what Trump said at the Bitcoin conference, saying, I'll have fun with the Bitcoins, I'll fire Gary Gensler, I'll protect the right to self-custody. And most importantly, and I think this is going to be absolutely massive, the so-called Bitcoin strategic reserve for the United States. Cynthia Lummis has been making lots of noise about it. And the Republicans have control of the House, they have control of the Senate, and of course, they have control of the executive branch of the presidency. So if you look at Polymarket, they're giving it about a 30% chance that this so-called Bitcoin strategic reserve happens in the United States. Very, very exciting stuff. Anyways, let's get to some of the article. It says Bitcoin rallied past 84,000 for the first time, boosted by President-elect Donald Trump's embrace of digital assets and the prospect of Congress featuring pro-crypto lawmakers. And something else to keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, 48 out of the 48 pro-crypto Congress people were elected into office. And I have to give credit where credit is due. Shout out to the Satoshi Action Fund, Dennis Porter. Shout out to the Bitcoin Policy Institute, David Zell, Bitcoin Magazine. And I know this might be unpopular with a lot of Bitcoiners, but shout out to Coinbase. They really, really put a lot of lobbying money into Washington, D.C., and a lot of these competitive races so that pro-Bitcoin candidates would go into office. Unfortunately, Elizabeth Warren did win her election, but I mean, we did give her a run for her money. Anyways, it goes on to say, Trump was declared the winner in Arizona, making a clean sweep of the 7 U.S. battleground states. His decisive victory in the presidential election has prompted celebratory chest thumping from the digital assets industry, which spent over $100 million backing a range of crypto-friendly candidates. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are now part of the donor base. Something to keep in mind, because I see this a lot in the chat. It's not that Bitcoin needs pro-Bitcoin politicians to succeed. Politicians now need Bitcoin to succeed, because now our industry, $100 million worth of donations. Anyways, it goes on to say, quote, with the dust from Trump's victory still settling down, it was only a matter of time before a run-up of some sort occurred, given the perception of Trump being pro-crypto. And that's what we're seeing now. I completely 100% agree. Also, this isn't just an isolated event. We have Bernstein, a huge analyst, emphasizing that his clients, people, should get exposure to Bitcoin. And just to kind of give you guys a perspective, this article dropped November 11th, and it says 82,000. The title, we're at 85K. The run-up has been absolutely bonkers. And guys, just have some patience, because if history repeats, we still have about 10 months of this Bitcoin bull market action. Now, I'm going to drop a little bit of a speculation here, and I'm going to say that, look, I think that and I'm not the only one to say this as well. Dr. Jeff Ross has said this. I think that the Bitcoin 2021 bull market was cut short. Why was it cut short? It was cut short because of the China mining ban. If you take a look at the hash rate and the price, there's a direct correlation between the hash rate dropping off a cliff and then the price following shortly after. Now, why would the hash rate impact the price? Well, all those miners that were located in China had to sell their miners and the infrastructure in order to relocate to more favorable jurisdictions. I don't think that's going to be the case this time around. Why? We just had the governor of Texas basically saying, I want Texas to be the Bitcoin mining capital of the world. We have Trump basically saying, I want the United States to be the Bitcoin capital of the world. So I don't think we'll have a mining ban this time around. And if you take a look at the teal line in the chat, it looks like that's the 2017 pump. That's where it went from January from $1,000 all the way to 20K. Now, are we going to get a 20x this year? Diminishing returns, law of big numbers, but I mean, a 5x would be, absolutely bonkers. And Bitcoin tends to do the exact opposite of what everyone anticipates. Anyways, Opti, very, very exciting times, man. I mean, bro, we survived 8 months of chipsolidation. It was like we were like bumping our heads at, we were like going a little bit insane. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are Bitcoiners, you guys are kind of experiencing very similar things. What's your take, man? It feels good. And it feels good that we're in freedom country for this. And of course, we're going to be live streaming the entire Adopting Bitcoin conference for you guys later on this week, specifically starting on Friday and on Saturday as well. Opti?
Yeah, well, obviously, we made it, boys. It feels really good. I'm sure there's some exuberance back home. I'm sure you guys are getting hyped. I know this morning we got a little hyped. We were looking at the price. We were like kind of tracking as we were getting the show ready. We're like, okay, 82K. Wait, no, it's 83K. Wait, no, it's 84K. Like, wait, it's 85K. Here we are, guys. It looks like we are in price discovery mode. And one thing we were kind of mentioning before the show, it's actually a bank holiday right now. The banks are closed. Wall Street is out. They're not even at the office right now, so they can't trade this Bitcoin. This has to be, is this Saylor because he announced his buy in Bitcoin? There's rumors that Nation State is stacking Bitcoin. All I know is that weekend pumps are back on the table, boys and girls, which means we are in the Bitcoin bull market. This is the last leg of the bull market. This is where it gets really fun, where it pumps at, Friday once Wall Street closes, pumps all weekend. Once Monday comes around, or rather, once they come back into the office, it starts to dump. I think they're back on the table. I'm getting excited. It feels really good to be back. And man, it has been a pretty brutal bear market, considering that we were all in on Bitcoin. And, surviving on Bitcoin when it loses, 70% of its purchasing power, it's not the funnest ride out there. But hey, we made it. Congratulations to every single one of you. If no one in your family is saying that they're proud of you for hodling the bear market, I will be the first one to say it to you guys. So proud of you. Yeah, it's going to get crazy from here. But one thing I do kind of want to mention, and shouts out to Jacob, because he's really been on this beat the last couple of days since we got in El Salvador. It is interesting that Bloomberg and all of the corporate press are trying to make Bitcoin a partisan issue. They're trying to blame Trump for all of this pumping, whereas a Bitcoiner, we're like, it's just a halving cycle. It's playing out exactly as we knew it was. Yes, it's happening now. It's not necessarily just a Trump pump. Yes, where there's some exuberance because Trump's going back into office, but Bitcoin's just doing Bitcoin things. And hey, this is why we're here.
I think that if Kamala were to get elected, I think that there would have been a temporary dump for sure, but there would have been a recovery without a shadow of a doubt. So, and look, we are exactly where we've been every single other cycle. Nothing has changed. So, anyways, I do want to get the opinion of our guest, Chris, BitRacer. How you guys doing? What are your thoughts on this? I mean, it's a long time coming. This chipsolidation of 8 months. I think the introduction of the ETFs, man, just made it got the party started a little bit too early. Hitting that all-time high. I think it was in like March. And we just had to go sideways. But I'll tell you what, guys, if we kept going if we just kept hitting all-time highs and we wouldn't have stopped in March, I think that would have that would have caused a left translated cycle. We would have peaked a lot earlier, and I think we would have peaked a lot lower. But the fact that we've been going sideways for 8 months, essentially, we now have a floor. We've built this very, very strong floor. Anyways, gentlemen from BitRacer, what are your guys' thoughts on everything that's going on?
Is the sound okay?
Yes, you guys are good.
Yes, perfect. So it's actually Bitcoin Racing, just to do a small correction there. We've got it here. So my name's Charlie and this is Chris. He's our driver for the team, and obviously we're racing in the UK at the moment. And actually when we started the team, it was around 3 years ago. And literally the day we had our first race, the market just started dumping. So we have been racing and doing this project the whole time through a complete bear market, which has been, not very helpful, because when you're a racing team, you need a lot of resources to pay for all the tires and the fuel and things like that. So I always say, I think we actually started the bear market. It was purely our fault. So I need to apologize to all of you. But I mean, it's obviously been nice having 8 months for everyone here to stack sats and, increase the stockpile of Bitcoin that we've got. Because everyone always ends up saying, we never managed to get enough Bitcoin into the stack. So I think we've been quite lucky. And obviously, as you guys have mentioned, now that we don't have Gensler and all these other peoples against Bitcoin, Elizabeth Warren is truly going to be put back into her place. And the stars are aligning for Bitcoin to go absolutely crazy. And to be honest, I don't even know where we would even predict the price to go. It's just, it could get absolutely crazy. So I think it's well deserved for everyone staying humble. It's been a really difficult 3 years for maybe a lot of people. Some have loved it, who love to get more Bitcoin. But in general, we think it's exciting time for the future.
100%, completely agree with that. And also, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us as well. Sorry for pronouncing that incorrectly. We had a crazy trying to set this up in time for you guys, in the morning, and so it was a little bit hectic. But thank you guys for joining us, and I think it's you guys are true Bitcoiners, because you guys continue to do what you were doing, continue to build in the bear market, and that's exactly what Bitcoiners do. Anyways, guys, stay tuned. It's going to be an incredible show. But before we jump into it, I do want to give a shout out to Simply Bitcoin's lead sponsor. Guys, Simply Bitcoin, we are powered by our partners, our sponsors, and we're very, very picky on who we choose to partner with. I want to give a shout out to our lead sponsor, Bitcoin Well. Bitcoin Well is the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. It's a publicly traded company coming out of Canada that recently expanded to all 50 US states. What makes Bitcoin Well unique, what makes it special, what makes it align with the Simply Bitcoin ethos of the separation of money and state is that Bitcoin Well is automatic self-custody, meaning as soon as you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, the funds clear, it goes straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address. It doesn't even allow you to leave the money on the exchange. Head over to bitcoinwell.com today and use promo code SimplyBTC. Also, for higher net worth individuals that are looking for a more white glove service, they just announced Bitcoin Well Infinite. It's a Bitcoin OTC desk, and it's tailored for people who want to buy over $50,000 of Bitcoin or more. You can personally email me at nico@bitcoinwell.com, and I will set you up with one of the awesome Bitcoin Well representatives. This is for people that are tired of dealing with that Coinbase UI and they want to deal with a human being. So let's say you want to make a purchase. Let's say you have questions about self-custody. Let's say you have any doubts whatsoever. You'll have a Bitcoin Well representative. So email me at nico@bitcoinwell.com to get started. Also, every time you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, you earn Bitcoin Well points, and you could redeem those points towards the Bitcoin Wishing Well contest. We're going to toss a coin into the Wishing Well. It seems like we're having, there it is. And bada bing, bada boom. First person that scans the QR code has won 500 sats. By the way, every time you toss a coin into the Wishing Well, you have an opportunity to win up to 1 million sats. Again, use promo code SimplyBTC to sign up to bitcoinwell.com today, and you get 3 tosses for free. Head over to bitcoinwell.com today. All right, everybody, let's get to the numbers. Lots to talk about. Let's check it out. I want to tell you guys about our sponsor, Stampseed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed words really secure? Stampseed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of writing them down on paper. Don't do that. Paper sucks. You want to literally stamp your seed into this plate of titanium. Your words are actually stamped into the metal plate with this hammer. So once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and your pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and most importantly, because this is generational wealth, time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin for the long haul. I mean, here is the plate that they crushed. They put in water, they put a blowtorch to it, and as you can see, the words have survived. Stamp your seed on Stampseed. And you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on their store. Head over to stampseed.com today. All right, everybody. I also want to tell you guys, no, I mean, I've already just told you guys, but if you use promo code SIMPLY, you get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $84,870. Block height, 869,874. Sats per dollar, 1,178. Market cap, 1.68 trillion. Bitcoin priced in gold, 32.7 ounces. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 9.3%, almost at 10%. Percentage issued, 94.19%. Decline from all-time high, love this, 0.1%. And of course, forward monetary inflation, 0.84%, and realized monetary inflation, 1.23%. Continue to take fiat currencies to absolute.
Wait, Nico, correct that. The decline from all-time high is negative 0.1%, not 0.1%.
I apologize. Thank you. All right, everyone, let's get straight into it. So we had a crazy kind of election cycle, and I'm so glad that we don't have to talk about politics anymore. Maybe I'm saying that too soon, but what happened with the Trump win was not only Trump winning and, you know, more a pro Bitcoin candidate getting into office, but it was also the death of legacy media. You have to understand, for the last 9 years, they've been throwing everything at this man. You know, you heard towards the end, it was like, he's a fascist, he's a racist, like everything you could imagine. And here's the thing, it was working in the beginning. In the first early years, when they were convincing everybody about all these things about Trump, a lot of people were buying into it. But as time progressed, it started losing its effect. And now I believe that by 2028, the debates and the conversations that these people that are running into office, that the people that are running into office for, they're going to happen on podcasts. They're going to happen on Joe Rogan. You're going to have the debates and the news coming from the new town square. It's going to come from X. It's going to come from Nostr. It's going to come from YouTube. This is the rise of citizen journalism. It's no longer, the narrative is no longer controlled by a handful of TV editors or newspaper editors. It's controlled by the people, as it should be. This is the introduction into the information age, just as was predicted by the book, The Sovereign Individual. Anyways, independent media won this election hands down. The fact that Trump's interview with Joe Rogan had 50 million views on YouTube, and it was still censored by YouTube, they were shadow banning it, tells you how powerful these independent content creators platforms have become. And it literally makes legacy media numbers look stupid. So this is something that I want you guys to understand. You are now the media anon. You are the media. So every tweet, every post, every video that you make it makes a difference. And they're losing control, and they know it. They've even admitted to it. Here's a Hillary Clinton clip of literally saying this. Let's check it out.
Forms, whether it's Facebook or Twitter X or Instagram or TikTok, whatever they are, if they don't moderate and monitor the content, we lose total control. And it's not just the social and psychological effects, it's real harm.
So, I mean, like she's literally admitting it, right? You lose total control. What does that mean? And then again, here's a Peter McCormack, host of, I think he changed, it's not what Bitcoin did anymore, it's Mr. Obnoxious. And if you are to believe the so-called mainstream media, which is not mainstream media, legacy media, they're trying to convince you that Trump was a fascist, that Trump was a tyrant, that Trump was all these things. I'll let you guys decide. I don't know if we'll have time to play the entire clip, but let me know if you think this is what a fascist or an authoritarian would do. I think this is a classic case of projection. Anyways, let's check it out.
If we don't have free speech, then we just don't have a free country. It's as simple as that. If this most fundamental right is allowed to perish, then the rest of our rights and liberties will topple. Just like dominoes, one by one, they'll go down. That's why today I'm announcing my plan to shatter the left-wing censorship regime and to reclaim the right to free speech for all Americans. And reclaim is a very important word in this case because they've taken it away. In recent weeks, bombshell reports have confirmed that a sinister group of deep state bureaucrats, Silicon Valley tyrants, left-wing activists, and depraved corporate news media have been conspiring to manipulate and silence the American people. They have collaborated to suppress vital information on everything from elections to public health. The censorship cartel must be dismantled and destroyed, and it must happen immediately. And here's my plan. First, within hours of my inauguration, I will sign an executive order banning any federal department or agency from colluding with any organization, business, or person to censor, limit, categorize, or impede the lawful speech of American citizens. I will then ban federal money from being used to label domestic speech as mis- or disinformation. And I will begin the process of identifying and firing every federal bureaucrat who has engaged in domestic censorship, directly or indirectly, whether they are the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Health, Human Services, the FBI, the DOJ, no matter who they are. Second, I will order the Department of Justice to investigate all parties involved in the new online censorship regime, which is absolutely destructive and terrible.
So, first of all, Trump's hilarious when he talks. Number two, does that sound like a fascist and authoritarian? So again, accuse your enemy of what it is you are guilty of yourself. And it's a classic case of projection. And I'm telling you guys, it's not a coincidence that the president who wants to protect self-custody, who wants the Bitcoin industry to thrive, is also the president that is protecting free speech. And that's because Bitcoin and free speech go hand in hand. You can't have Bitcoin and not have free speech. I mean, it works very similar. Think about it. So free speech, it isn't perfect. It's a little bit messy. A lot of things could be said that potentially, could hurt people's feelings. But what the alternative is a elite, a bureaucratic elite in government that get to decide what is truth and what is not truth. And the problem is that history has shown is that they use that to create a political moat to go after their opponents. Bitcoin works very similar. You have to be okay with even your worst enemy using Bitcoin and benefiting from Bitcoin. So if you think they're not okay with you speaking freely on the internet, what makes you think they would be okay with you transacting freely on the internet? Anyways, Opti, historic times. I mean, we've been talking about this theme, this concept. We call it the disintermediation of information and the disintermediation of money. I think we have completed the disintermediation of information. I think we've gone over the hump, and it's going to be bright in terms of free speech on the internet. And of course, we have protocols like Nostr acting as the Alamo. But the battle at hand, what's in front, and I think it's going to be a little bit more messy, is the disintermediation of money, the so-called separation of money and state. Opti, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, obviously we are free speech maxis. I love free speech. I say crazy stuff, so obviously I want more free speech because I don't want to end up in the gulags. But you can tell we've been seeing this play out for the last 4 years. Just how crazy it's been on the internet because of all of us communicating peer to peer. And so, yes, I would love to see Trump actually, open up free speech on the platform, or rather in the US in general, considering, this is the home of the brave. We have the First Amendment. And we remember last week or 2 weeks ago, we were covering all of the Democrats basically saying, like, we've lost control. We need to clamp down on misinformation on the internet because, you guys can't think for yourselves. We need to control this. There's too much crazy stuff going on. And I mean, we always bring this back on the show because we do see some people every once in a while that come to the show for their first time and they're like, I thought this was a Bitcoin show. Why are you guys talking about free speech? But we say it all the time. If they clamp down on free speech, what makes you think that they're going to allow you to transact freely? And obviously, Bitcoin is a free speech issue. It's literally codes. It's ones and zeros. It's a free First Amendment issue, at least in the U.S. And so, obviously, we love and we always push this idea of free speech. And let's not forget what platform we are right now. We got to watch our words a little bit here or there because we want to maintain our channel here. But we would love to have a lot more freedom to say things that we believe is the truth without this whole overbearing nanny state telling us, oh, you can't say this is misinformation, you need to get deplatformed. And we always say, look, if they can deplatform you for the things that you say, that also connects to your transactions in your banking because they can also debank you for the things that you said. We've seen this play out this last year. We've seen this play out in previous years. And now it seems like maybe we're going to get a better, field of play here where you can say stuff on the internet, speak the truth, and you're not going to get kicked out of your banks. But either way, Bitcoin is unaffected. If you do get debanked, you can just go on the Bitcoin network and hey, no one can shut you off the Bitcoin network. This is why we love it so much. Anyways, let's pass it over to our guest. This is going to be a different perspective. We're Americans. You guys are in the UK. So what's your thoughts on this? We've been seeing the crazy stuff going on in your country.
Yeah, no, we were so excited to see Trump actually won this election. We did feel it would be stolen again. And
Can we say that now?
I'm sorry.
Let's say there was election discrepancies.
Exactly. Yeah. But I mean,
so some people believe there was election discrepancies. Just to clarify, YouTube.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Oh my goodness, I know what happened with this channel. Okay, I need to watch out. Right. So, I mean, in the UK, censorship is still probably very much alive, in my opinion. There has recently been people arrested for opinions put out on social media, and our government is probably the direct opposite of the one you're about to receive. In the UK, things aren't looking as bright, but it's amazing to see. Obviously, the US is a superpower, and hopefully these ideals, freedom of speech, other governments and countries will see how well it works, and hopefully the UK adopts a more right-wing approach like you guys have. We kind of were first had our eyes open to how the media is censored during the COVID pandemic. I don't know if that's going to get a bit too deep as well. I know we are on YouTube, but that's just when we realized that there's a lot of control going on, and how easily it is to sway people and make them actually believe what they see on the media is true. Rather than actually putting in their own work to verify if the sources of information are correct. So that was a scary time, but I think the US is, you've almost been liberated from what could have turned out to be quite a nasty 4 years. So yeah, it's looking good.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like in the UK, like you saw those videos of like people essentially getting jailed for what they were saying on Facebook and stuff like that. And I see people in the chat. I don't think this is a left and right thing. History has shown that free speech is good. This is how countries flourish. When you have elites dictating what is truth and what is not true, that is a very slippery slope. That's why what was happening during the pandemic, they were like, hey, trust the official media sources. The official media sources got it wrong a lot of the time, and they had no consequences. Like, there was no consequences to them getting it wrong, but the average everyday person posting their thoughts on X would just get completely deplatformed very, very quickly. So I'm very, very happy that Elon stepped in. He bought X, and that made a huge, huge impact. So can't thank Elon enough. And let's see what happens. Anyways, look, worst case scenario, we have Nostr, we have Bitcoin, but again, we want this to be a worldwide phenomenon, right? And that's why it's so important for platforms like X to take the stance that it has. And I don't think it's a coincidence that it is literally the #1 news app, not only in the United States, but many other countries around the world. And I think it's because people are sick and tired of the so-called legacy media, and they're tuning into X, and what's happening on X is telling them the exact opposite. I mean, this is a Bitcoin show. I remember when they were saying that there was going to be no inflation, everyone on X was like, there's going to be inflation because there's a record amount of money being printed. And they never admitted to that. They said that was misinformation. The Bitcoiners were right. And there's multiple examples of this happening over and over and over again, especially in the last 9 years or so with the parabolic rise of social media. There's been so many examples of them just getting it completely wrong. Anyways, guys, we're at 1,700 live viewers between YouTube, Rumble, X, Nostr. If you guys are enjoying the show so far, make sure to smash our like button. If you guys want to support the show, you could stream us some sats on Nostr, and of course, check out our sponsors and our partners. Anyways, guys, stay tuned. We're gonna get to the news. We have lots to talk about. Let's check it out. Here we go. Special shout out to our sponsor, Compass Mining. They make Bitcoin mining accessible to everyone, from beginners to experienced investors. Their turnkey miners gets you online and hashing within 48 hours, making it easier than ever to start your mining journey. Plus, with their active marketplace, you can resell your miner at any time, adding flexibility and value to your investment. Visit their website to access a wealth of resources, learning everything you need to know about Bitcoin mining. Take your first step into the world of Bitcoin mining with confidence. Discover more at compassmining.io. Again, compassmining.io, and see how Compass Mining can power your success. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US, and it integrates seamlessly with their free app called Envoy. Passport is fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a classic feature phone, so you'll know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. It's also air-gapped, meaning Bitcoin stays offline, never touching an internet connection. It's Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, air-gap security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes with Passport at foundation.xyz/simply. Get peace of mind for your piece of Bitcoin. All right, everybody, here's how it works. If you want to take self-custody of your Bitcoin, you're going to want to get yourself a hardware wallet. Why we recommend the Passport by Foundation devices. Opti doesn't have it with him. Guys, it's literally the size of like the old Nokia
I don't travel with it.
It's incredibly easy to use. It's, you can pair it up with the Envoy app, and it makes spending cold storage Bitcoin easy. But it doesn't sacrifice the security. So again, you want to take self-custody of your Bitcoin. Self-custody is a revolution. Scan the QR code to get started, or check the link in the video description. All right, everybody, let's get to today's news. So I want to talk about this because essentially there's a double standard, and hopefully the persecution of Bitcoiners in the Bitcoin industry is going to end. And just to kind of give you guys a refresher, we had the Operation Choke Point 2.0 that was happening. Murphy, could you put my camera just on me, please? Operation Choke Point 2.0 that was happening under the Biden administration. And this led to the denial of Caitlin Long's federal banking charter, the proposed 30% Bitcoin mining tax, the attack on so-called crypto-friendly banks. But most importantly, and the reason that Opti and I started talking about certain political issues was the arrest of Bitcoin developers. And it's a very, very slippery slope once you start arresting developers for making open source software. Why? You know what Bitcoin is? Open source software. I think that if Satoshi was still around today, he would be in prison. Because essentially what the DOJ is claiming is that people are using this software to commit crimes. That's the equivalent of saying we're going to charge the gun manufacturers because people that are buying guns are using the guns to commit crimes. Like, and again, you could say, Nico, no, it's different, you know, the dark web and all that stuff. Okay, but there's a different set of standards between how they treat our industry and how they treat the banking industry for the same crime. And make no mistake, there's been a persecution. CZ, the founder and CEO of the largest, crypto Bitcoin exchange around the world, Binance, they said, hey, you broke anti-money laundering laws. Arthur Hayes, same thing, charged him with a crime, said you broke anti-money laundering laws. So I hope that this trend of persecution ends under the Trump administration. I mean, he did promise us in Nashville. That was part of his campaign promise. We shall see what happens. But anyways, I hope this ends. And it's not that I'm arguing against this whole concept of money laundering bad. What I'm saying is it's not justice if one party gets a certain sentence, the banking industry, and another party gets another industry. I think it boils down to trying to scare the living daylights out of developers because they can't control Bitcoin. It's a non-sovereign alternative form of money. I think that's what it fundamentally boils down to. And again, I'm not the only one that thinks this. The Sovereign Individual made this thesis as well. The thesis of the Sovereign Individual was, it says, lacking their accustomed scope to tax and inflate, which is essentially the same thing, governments in traditionally civil countries will turn nasty. Businesses that offer services that facilitate the realization of autonomy by individuals will be subject to infiltration, sabotage, and disruption. I think that's what it comes down to fundamentally, right? Anyways, so let's get to today's news. And let's share the screen. Thank you, Murphy. So Bitcoin fog operator sentenced for money laundering conspiracy. A dual Russian-Swedish national sentenced to 12 years and 6 months in prison for his operation of the longest-running Bitcoin money laundering service on the darknet. According to court documents and evidence presented at trial from 2011 through 2021, Roman Sturgilov, I hope I pronounced that correctly, 36, was involved in Operation Bitcoin Fog, the darknet's longest-running cryptocurrency mixer. Over the course of its decade-long operation, Bitcoin Fog gained notoriety as a go-to money laundering service for criminals seeking to hide their illicit proceeds. In addition to his term of imprisonment, Sturgilov was sentenced to pay a forfeiture money judgment in the amount of $395 million and forfeiture of seized cryptocurrencies and monetary assets valued at $1.76 million. Also, the Bitcoin Fog wallet forfeited as well, containing 1,345 Bitcoin. It goes on to say, and I hit with $30 billion penalty and U.S. money laundering settlement. It goes on to say the U.S. arm of Canadian-based TD Bank has agreed to pay a penalty to settle allegations that it had failed to stop drug traffickers and money launderers from pushing hundreds of millions of dollars of illicit funds through the U.S. financial system. The bank agreed to plead guilty to charges that it violated the Bank Secrecy Act. It goes on to say, between the criminal charges and civil suits, the bank has agreed to pay a total of more than $3 billion to the U.S. authorities, including $1.3 billion to FinCEN. According to prosecutors, TD Bank's unit failed to uphold proper anti-money laundering controls for almost a decade, from 2014 to 2023. During which time, prosecutors said numerous criminal enterprises were able to transact through the bank. This includes a Chinese drug trafficking group that bribed bank employees and was ultimately able to launder more than $470 million in cash linked to the sale of fentanyl and other illegal drugs, as well as another money laundering scheme that sent tens of millions of dollars to Colombia. Okay, all right, everyone. Excuse my language, feel a little bit passionate. Bitcoin's making an all-time high. What is the fucking difference between this and that? There is no difference. Then why did the bank get a fine, and why did the privacy developers get locked in prison? Okay, and another thing, the privacy developers, they're not developing these tools for drug traffickers. They're developing these tools because privacy is a fundamental human right. In fact, it's actually even protected by the Fourth Amendment, which is essentially treated as toilet paper these days. I'll read it for you guys. The right of the people to be secure in their person's house, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures. I think the Bank Secrecy Act is very unreasonable, in my opinion. When it was implemented back in 1971, they had a law that essentially made it that every $10,000 or so transaction had to be, no, it's $10,000. Every $10,000 transaction had to be reported to the government. The problem is that when that law was passed back in 1971, $10,000 is the equivalent of $80,000 worth of purchasing power today. And during the so-called Inflation Reduction Act, they tried to squeeze in a law that would make it so that every $600 transaction had to be reported. At the same time, the federal government is running a $1 trillion deficit every 100 days. So, like, we have to be completely responsible, and we have to penny pinch, and we have to account for all our money, but they could just do whatever they want. Where are those hundreds of billions of dollars going to in Ukraine? Where are they going? We don't know. We just have to take their word for it. So again, I don't think I have a problem with the crime per se. Like, it's the law. The law is the law. It's the social contract. The problem that I have is the double standards. And if there's a double standard between the banking industry and the Bitcoin industry, that is not justice. That is rules for thee, but not for me. Opti, what's your take?
Yeah, well, we've seen this play out throughout all of this last year, hence why we kind of went really hard in this whole election cycle, because it became very clear that the left was attacking Bitcoin. It started with, Bitcoin fog. It started with Tornado Cash, then Bitcoin fog. And of course, everyone knows that once the Samurai devs got arrested, Nico went ballistic on the show.
We went crazy. Also,
Yes.
I see someone in the Rumble chat. Yes, we do have a Start 9 promo. Get yourself a note. It's down in the video description.
And so obviously we live in a two-tier justice system. It is what it is. This is where we are. I think the very big signal, especially for a lot of us Bitcoiners, I think there's still some Bitcoiners out there that maybe would give the system the benefit of the doubt. But now it's becoming very clear that they are attacking us. There's rules for thee, but not for me. And of course, the me is if you are part of the money printer, if you're a part of the institutions and the system, they can basically get away with it, whatever they want. They get a slap on the wrist, and then Bitcoiners are painted as a criminal. And I think this is the growing trend that we're going to see moving forward. Hopefully things do change under a Trump administration, considering that the Republicans have came out and become way more pro-Bitcoin in their rhetoric. So I'm holding out that maybe there's some hope here, but it is becoming very clear where the trend is going. And I said this, I think mid roll of the year when the Samurai news came out, that pretty soon Bitcoiners are going to be blamed for all of the fiat problems. Once the fiat apocalypse actually crumbles, they're most likely going to point fingers and be like, you Bitcoiners are the reason. Actually, we already saw this. We saw, what was it, the ECB. We've seen a lot of institutions come out and basically say like, oh, the fiat system is crumbling, but it's really the Bitcoiners' faults. And we're like, the only people you have to blame is just look at yourself in the mirror. You guys are the problem here. You guys are the ones that are destroying the world, and Bitcoiners are trying to fix it. We're trying to build an alternative system, but it's becoming very clear. Rules for thee and not for me, and we just aren't a part of the club. And hey, it is what it is. Bitcoin's going to win. We've built a parallel system, and it's only a matter of time until everyone wakes up to this fact.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Anyways, Chris, what are your thoughts on this, man? And like, is again, and you have the perspective of being in the UK, and I know that there's been some laws that have been passed. What's your opinion on all this? Chris, could you hear us?
Charlie, I think, did we lose you? I think we lost Charlie. Oh no, I can hear, he can hear us, or I can hear him.
All right. It seems like Chris cannot hear us. All right, let's keep rolling with the show, Opti.
All right, let's see if we can handle the culture real quick.
All right, everybody, we'll be right back. We're gonna hit the culture segment, and hopefully we get these gentlemen back so we can talk about their project, what they're working up to. But if not, we'll talk about something else as well. So stay tuned for the culture. We will be right back. Here we go. All right, everybody, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, the Orange Pill app. Stack friends who stack sats. Join the 13,629 Bitcoiners that are currently on the app. The Orange Pill app is the Bitcoin social layer. It is the app that you want to download if you want to connect with fellow Bitcoiners. So for example, if you're in El Salvador this week for adopting Bitcoin happening this week, and you don't know any Bitcoiners in El Salvador, you pull up the Orange Pill app, has a really clever geographical feature, and it will show you the Bitcoiners that are near you, and it will give you the ability to send them a message directly, thereby connecting with them. It's also the #1 resource for Bitcoin-only events. So, for example, the conference is only 2 days, but we're in El Salvador for 7 days. What are we going to do the other days? Pull up the Orange Pill app, and it will show you the events near you. Highly recommend it. It's also one of the best ways to reach me. Download the Orange Pill app today, scan the QR code on your screen, or check the link in the video description. All right, everybody. So let's open it up to the culture. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties. This is live, so we're going to roll with the punches. Chris, can you hear us?
I can hear him. Here, let me tee this up. So I do, of course, we got Bitcoin Racing here. I do want to play their trailer real quick. Hopefully, I'll play the trailer, and then if anything, I'll just hit him in the chat, and we'll just let him riff on Bitcoin Racing and what they're doing. So here we go. Let me pull this up. Let's play this trailer real quick. Give you guys context here. I'm fighting you, Murph. You do it. You do it. Okay, here we go.
We have a higher meaning than most other race teams.
You know, we see Bitcoin as a mission for peace.
Yeah, so my brother actually found Bitcoin and he was looking for ways to help us.
The true mission is to help other families before they experience a crisis. We're doing phase 1, the mini challenge.
17 million TV viewers over the year last year, 400,000 spectators over the year at the event.
They've just corrupted the money. Save the money, save the world.
Son valores como el coraje, como la fortaleza, la disciplina, el patriotismo, el honor, la lealtad. Como los va a surgir una nación con valores así? ¿Cómo no va a surgir una nación que pone primero a Dios, que solo pone su trabajo y su esfuerzo con este tipo de valores?
Damn, I was getting lit over here. Hopefully, Charlie, are you back?
Yeah, could you hear me?
Okay, let's go. Let's go. I wish I had the horn.
Perfect.
All right, Charlie, man. I don't. You guys couldn't see me, but I was getting lit back behind the scenes. That was an epic trailer. Anyways, Charlie, man, let's just jump into it. I mean, you guys are Bitcoiners. You kind of laid it out in the beginning of the show. You guys started 3 years ago, and I really just, you mentioned earlier before we started the show just the significance of Bitcoin racing. You guys were just in an incredible race. So let's start there, and then we'll talk about the mission of Bitcoin racing.
Yeah, so we started around 3 years ago, and my family's always been into motorsports. And my dad's got like a passion for cars and things like that. So he was really the driving force for it. And we started in a small championship about 3 years ago called the City Car Cup. So it's literally Citroen C1s taken off the road, and they're about 60 horsepower, so really slow cars. So that's where we started. But we just wanted to find a way that would be fun and exciting to promote Bitcoin. And obviously, motorsports is such an exciting and positive thing. We thought that would be a great start. But we soon realized that the championship's not getting enough interest just because it's a small kind of starter entry championship. It doesn't bring in the audience that we want to present Bitcoin to. So we were looking at championships in the UK, and there's a series called the British Touring Car Championship, and it's actually hyphenated to BTCC. So I think that says it's the right championship to go for. But it's actually the UK's most famous racing series. And the minis, which you just saw, the mini car there, they race as a support package. So it's kind of like in Formula One, when the Formula One cars, if they're not on the grid, you have the support races keeping the crowds entertained. So that's what the mini is to the touring cars. But the good thing is it benefits from the massive audience that comes to watch those races. So it's actually broadcasted live on a primetime channel here called ITV4, which goes out to around 17 million viewers. And also about 400,000 live fans come to the races throughout the season. So you get a lot of normies coming to these circuits and then being presented with Bitcoin through a really exciting and fun way. Which we think works really nicely. And hopefully next year we're going to go into the minis again. But there's actually 2 classes in the minis. So we actually started in the main series, and they use a sequential gearbox, but we had all sorts of trouble with that because we're a small family team, and we just couldn't manage to work such a complicated gearbox after being used to Citroens. So we changed it to a slightly slower series, which races behind the faster cars, if that makes sense. So next year we hope to be in the top championship with the faster sequential gearboxes, and that will obviously get us more camera time on TV as well.
Very, very, very incredible stuff, man. And I just got to say, like 17 million people, getting exposure to the Bitcoin car. And I think I saw an El Salvador flag on there as well, and other Bitcoin companies. So, that's huge exposure. And, Bitcoin fundamentally, it's a cultural movement, right? So, the more we make it part of the culture, there's a very famous quote from Breitbart. I've said it many times. I said it at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville, and The Guardian, which I believe is a British newspaper, actually quoted me. They're like this alt-right guy, but essentially, the quote is that politics is downstream from culture, and the way that you win over the political game is you win over the cultural game, right? This is why they're melting down when they're losing their monopoly on information, because if you lose your monopoly on information, all of a sudden the culture is on X or on Nostr or on Bitcoin. That sometimes doesn't completely correlate with what the powers that be want in terms of control. So anyways, I'm going to pass it on to Opti. Is that a Mini Cooper?
It is. It's a John Cooper Works Mini. That's the fastest Mini in the world.
Hell yeah, love that.
So it's about 300 horsepower. It's absolutely crazy.
That's nuts, man. That's
And
nuts.
these are the stats for the amount of TV coverage and number of viewers.
Incredible.
Love it. Okay, so I do want to chime in here. Charlie, actually, call Chris while you're doing the rib, because we do want to ask him about racing in these cars.
Yes.
But Charlie, I think the low-hanging fruit question for you is very simple. It's like, why did you add Bitcoin to the racing? Why is racing and Bitcoin a good way to spread the word on Bitcoin?
Yeah, so I think it comes just down to how we discovered Bitcoin in the first place. And it was in March 2020 when we actually first came across Bitcoin and started learning about it. And the reason we were prompted to do that was because back in 2008, we actually lost all of our family businesses. So the recession actually hit our family really hard. And obviously, going from losing the businesses and the income that came from that, it was hard for us to pay our mortgage. And eventually in 2020, we actually got a letter from the bank saying that you've got 4 years until you need to pay the final sum on the mortgage, otherwise we're going to repossess your house. So basically, my mum just said to us, we need to sit down as a family, talk about our strengths and weaknesses, and try and find a way to stop this from happening, because we don't want to lose the family house. And we kind of brainstormed loads of different potential ideas, from starting another restaurant. It was lucky we didn't, because obviously COVID would have caused us to close down. We were looking at warehouses to kind of do Amazon distribution. But my thought process was a bit different, because we'd lived through a recession and it was now March 2020 during COVID. It felt like there's going to be another one. And because we'd lived through one, I knew that during recessions you get big wealth transfers, and usually it goes from the poor to the rich. So I just Googled, how do you get on the positive side of a wealth transfer? And that's how we found about, it was initially we found out about gold. And there was this documentary which taught us about all the hidden secrets of money, showed us how fractional reserve banking works, what causes inflation. And for us, it just felt like an easier option rather than starting a business. Hopefully, we could find an asset that we could invest in and would then do very well. And it also resonated with us really nicely, because Bitcoin is outside of the system that caused us all that trouble back in 2008. So when we learned all that, and how evil this banking system is and how Bitcoin can improve people's lives, we just felt compelled to find our own way to teach more people about it. And because we've been racing before, we knew that motor racing is a very good marketing platform. And at that time, Bitcoin wasn't really getting any exposure through motor racing. So that's why we just came up with the idea to put Bitcoin logos on the car. But we also added the flag of El Salvador as well. And that was actually done with permission from the government here, which was really cool, because they were pretty humble about it. They didn't mind about the flag going on top of a small Citroen C1. Obviously, it's a lot cooler now being on a 300 horsepower Mini Cooper car. But when we first approached them and we were only in the Citroens, they were really up for it. So that was awesome.
Love it. Well, all I heard here at first, Charlie, is Bitcoin saved your family company, actually saved your family. Love to hear it. And man, it's just incredible. Like, I'm sure you're feeling euphoric right now. You're like, yes, the Bitcoin bull run is back. Not only that, but yes, now we're more profitable for racing. This is what you love to see in regards to how Bitcoin and getting on the Bitcoin standard literally can change the trajectory of your family, of your life, of your business. This is what we always talk about here. And man, you're just an incredible example of this. But I do want to ask you a question, because I am on your website over here and you have services here. So can people rent the Mini Coopers and drive them? What's going on here?
Yes, so if people want to come and actually race with our team, we'll do a full arrive and drive package. So you can turn up and race a full championship without having to know anything about setting up a car, without having to do any of the mechanics or having to deliver the car to the circuits. All you would do is get to the race circuit, find a nice hotel, and then turn up on the race days, and you can actually race in a Bitcoin car and promote Bitcoin in your own really unique and exciting way. So last season we had 4 Bitcoiners racing with us. So there's three people who had never raced ever in their lives, and they thought, well, this is a great way for me to start because firstly, it's going to be a really fun and exciting year, and secondly, it allows me to promote Bitcoin. So it's just a really cool way to do something as a Bitcoiner to help to have loads of fun and also to spread Bitcoin in a really positive way. So that was really fun. One of the drivers actually achieved a 5th place, and there's about 32 cars in the Citroen. So we trained him up with Chris. He gave him lots of driver tuition, and he managed to get a 5th out of 30 drivers, which was amazing. So
That's gnarly. That's gnarly.
it's just a fun experience.
That's incredible what you guys are doing, man. This is the culture, man. This is
the culture.
This is the culture. This is like literally.
Hey, Charlie, get Chris over here and let's ask him what it's like driving in these cars before we wrap up the show. If he's still in the room.
Yeah, let me grab him. I want to hear what it's like to drive the cars. All right, I'm going to pull him in and give him those earphones. Thank you so much, guys.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yeah, we'll bring you back in after.
All right, we're doing this live, ladies and gentlemen. All right, here is Chris. Chris is the driver for Bitcoin Racing. Chris, how does it feel to be driving the fastest Mini Cooper on the face of the planet with Bitcoin branding all over it?
Yeah, it feels really good. Coming into the mini challenge was a huge step up for us as a team and me as a driver, because being used to the Citroen C1 with only 70 horsepower and then moving on to a mini with 300 odd, it was tough. But doing it with Bitcoin on the card makes it even better. Yeah, it's been a really good year, and hopefully we can carry on next year and go from there, move up to bigger championships and get the Bitcoin message spread to even more people.
Awesome.
Does the Bitcoin logo make you go faster?
It does, yeah. Extra half power, 20 more horsepower.
Wait, how fast does the Mini go?
I think the top speed is about 150 miles per hour. So pretty quick.
Okay.
That's good, man. That's good. That's good. Anyways, it's been an honor to have you guys on the show today. Guys, go check out bitcoinracing.co. You got to support all Bitcoin projects, support Bitcoiners. Like I said, this is how we win over the culture. We win over the culture, mass adoption, hyper Bitcoinization, just, one Bitcoin project at a time. So whether it's music, Bitcoin trading cards, Bitcoin racing, this is all kind of moving the envelope forward to this hyper Bitcoinized future that we all want to live in. Murphy,
wait. Before we go, let's give Chris one last word. Any last comment to the audience about Bitcoin racing in general? You want to plug it? Where can people find you?
Yeah, so you can find us on Twitter. We've got an Instagram account as well. Or you can just email us. Charlie's email is charlie@bitcoinracing.co.info.
Let's go. Appreciate it. Well, Chris, Charlie, thank you for coming on the show. I mean, you guys are in El Salvador as well, so we'll see you in person in the next couple of days, man. This is going to be super, super fun. Appreciate it. Yeah, Murphy, let's get the full cam. Let's roll this show out.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on Simply Bitcoin Live special edition, streaming from Freedom Country in the beautiful El Salvador. We're going to be here for the rest of the week. We're going to be giving you guys a live show Monday through Thursday. On Friday, we're going to be streaming the Adopting Bitcoin conference from the Simply Bitcoin channel, and on Saturday as well. We're going to have loads of interviews from your favorite Bitcoiners from the Adopting Bitcoin conference. We're going to be doing a Simply Bitcoin news desk from the conference during the conference live stream. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. I want to thank all of you guys for tuning in to the live stream today. If you guys enjoyed the show, smash the like button. Consider subscribing if you feel like we provided you value, and buckle up because we have about 10 months or so of this beautiful bull market. Enjoy it. If this is your first one, soak it in. This is what you've been living for. You've paid your dues. You've crawled through the trenches of the bear, and now you're here and you're going to witness number go up. And man, I'm so incredibly excited for 2025. Anyways, guys, love you all. We'll be back tomorrow for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin Live.
Brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.